Okay, my first question is, you planned your administrations about regeneration of local areas and providing locally based council services. Therefore, please explain why the former Potter Street Neighbourhood Office has remained empty for over 10 years. And when will locally based council services return to Potter Street?
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Councillor Perrin.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts, for your question. Mr. Roberts, I can commend you for your ongoing campaign to improve community services in Potter Street. As you will be, I'll turn that off and I'll try and project, yeah? That might be. As you will be aware, the neighbourhood office closed many years ago. I am committed to ensuring that the building is no longer left vacant, and the portfolio holder for regeneration will announce details of the scheme to regenerate that vacant building in the near future.
Thank you, Councillor Perrin. Mr. Roberts, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes.
Please ask.
Thank the Leader for the Council for his answer. Now, the former Potter Street Neighbourhood Council Office was closed in 2002-2003 by some who are still sitting as councillors today, such as Councillor Andrew Johnson and Councillor Simon Carter and others, despite a large Potter Street residents' petition against its closure. A formal council working group, for which I was a member without voting rights, was set up, but it was closed anyway. By closing this office, I was told that the council would save £1 million. I doubted that figure.
Mr. Roberts, can I ask you to get to a question?
Yes.
Because we do have a number of questions.
Yes. But any saving has been lost because the office has been empty ever since. If the council has any plans to provide council services locally, that office needs to be used, doesn't it?
Councillor Perrin.
As I said earlier, we are committed to regenerating the area, and Good Councillor Swords will be announcing plans now forthcoming. And I would say that regeneration is one of the top priorities of my administration, not just locally but in our town centre, and there's lots of exciting plans coming forward. Many will be announced imminently. Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Councillor Perrin. Mr. Roberts, you have a second question.
I do,
Would you like
yes.
to read it, or would you like to take it as read?
No, I read it, please.
Thank you.
In February this year, you stated this to me. However, the council is working with local residents to deliver a new Potter Street Health and Community Hub. This has been supported by the council staff to get this over the line. I'm informed refurbishment work will start soon on this site. Please explain why nothing has happened since on the refurbishment of the Potter Street Health and Community Hub.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Councillor Perrin.
Again, thank you, Mr. Roberts, for your question. As you will be aware, the portfolio holder for HCS Properties and Facilities is reviewing the project given the enormous rise in costs. This was not foreseen at the time. I responded to your previous question, and the relevant portfolio holder will be outlining the next steps for this project. I am aware he recently met with the community group and will update them again shortly.
Thank you, Councillor Perrin. Mr. Roberts, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, yes. Thank you again for your answer, Council Leader. And in February this year, I attended this meeting to ask a question on service provision in both the town in general and Potter Street in particular. You, as the record shows, told me that the refurbishment work on the Potter Street Wellbeing Hub was due to start then. I can confirm that since then, no refurbishment work has been completed on the Potter Street Wellbeing Hub. You have also not had the courtesy to reply to my emails on this subject. That is not leadership. Therefore, I'm now asking you to tell your officers, lead councillor, to get the refurbishment completed by this Christmas, if not earlier. Because if you do not, there's a real possibility that the current funding will be lost. Leadership is a difficult but invigorating challenge that in my long career I have proudly undertaken. In contrast, your leadership will be known as using warm words without
Mr. Roberts,
authority.
can I ask you again to draw to question, please?
Yes. In contrast, your leadership will be known as using warm words without authority if you do not get this refurbishment completed, won't it?
Councillor Perrin.
See if this works. Hello? Yes, can you hear me? Lovely.
Okay, yes.
Look at that. Leadership. Got a new microphone. 2 seconds flat. Mr. Roberts, I really do sincerely agree with your ambition to see your local area regenerated. The reason I became a councillor was for the similar motivations. I saw large parts of our town falling into decline. and so that's why I've made it the priority of my administration. I would be disingenuous to say if that particular area is going to be done by Christmas. But what I can say is that the plans are being announced imminently. It takes an awful long time to pull these plans together, and they need to be done right because they need to make sure they meet the needs of the community. So I'm sorry I can't give you a more sort of pleasing answer, one that you'd like to hear, which is that it will be done by Christmas. But I will tell you this, I will work tirelessly to make sure that the regeneration projects that we're announcing are coming on stream. There'll be more than warm words, and I'm not entirely sure some days whether leadership is invigorating, but it certainly is challenging. Thank you very much for your question, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Herring. Next question is from Colin Thorpe to Councillor May. Colin, are you in the audience?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. If you could proceed to the lectern. Mr. Thorpe, you have a long question here. Would you like to take it as read, or would you like to read it?
No, I'll read it if I may,
Please
please,
do
Mr.
so.
Chairman. At the full council meeting held on the 22nd of July 2022, in answer to my supplementary question regarding the cost of repairs to Osler House, Councillor May stated, I will review it and I will review it all, and I will meet with your group and I will go through it line by line. Following a brief meeting at Osler House on the 20th of September 2022 with Councillor May, Councillor Leopard and an officer in attendance, Councillor Leopard sent an email on the 21st instance with a statement as follows. Councillor May to obtain an updated budget and spec from HTS as soon as possible, and then review this with the officer and Colin Thorpe, agree a final work schedule and budget. At a Harlow Common Residence Forum held on the 5th of October 2022, with Councillor May, Leopard and Wilkinson in attendance, the assurance was given that the repairs budget will be discussed in full. However, at a meeting I attended held at the Civic Centre on the 14th of October 2022, with Councillor May and an officer, the revised HDS tender was not available, and Councillor May refused to discuss any of the cost-saving measurements put forward by the group, and with complete disregard to the following. Harlow's 10-year Wellbeing Plan 2018, the local plan section L2 and L4, Harlow Council's Resilience Strategy 2021-2023, specifically with a reference to Osler House, the Social Values Act regarding procurement, Harlow Council's Procurement Strategy and the Equalities Act. I ask again, when will the Council fulfil its commitment made to the disadvantaged groups of Harlow and commence the repairs to Osler House as promised?
Thank you, Mr. Thorpe. Councillor May.
Thank you for your question, Colin. Basically, as I explained to you, I'm committed to the best possible healthcare in Harlow. I was previously a chair of the Harlow Health Centres Trust before resigning to become a councillor. That charity has done an enormous amount for healthcare in Harlow, and I was a trustee for many years. The meeting at Osler House wasn't actually brief, it was quite extensive, and I made very clear to you the financial constraints the council is facing. The price for this works has nearly doubled, and there is an extremely large funding gap. That is why I have made clear that small savings from your list will not cover the gap. I also met with your community group and made very clear I'm not dismissive of the project. I care passionately about healthcare provision, but I explained the detail of the financial constraints we as a council are facing, and that we have a large gap in the finance funding between what we have for the allocated budget and what is required. I have now received the revised figures from HTS, and I'm working with officers to finalise the project cost, as I promised. Once I have this confirmed, I will do, as I've always committed to doing, advise the community group on the way forward. I have done exactly what I promised to do throughout. This is purely based on what we can afford and the best value for money for the taxpayer.
Thank you, Councillor May. Mr Thorpe, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Mr Chairman.
Please proceed.
At the council meeting held on the 22nd of July of this year, Councillor May stated that the cost of repairs to Osler House had almost doubled from the amount allocated for those repairs. This is incorrect, as the amount budgeted for those repairs was 226k, which, had it almost doubled, would be 452k, whereas the tender for repairs amounted to 325k, which is a shortfall of 99k, and not the nearly 127k as suggested.
Mr Thorpe, can I ask you to draw to a question, please?
Well, I'm getting to my question, Mr Chairman. Within the tender, price was announced 22k for alterations, which the trustees themselves had to pay for. My question is, why is Councillor May not taking into account the amount the trustees have to pay for these alterations suggested at 22k and may have risen, and the loss of revenue from the renting of Osler House some 68k, and the suggested items, which mainly are cosmetic, giving a further saving of 10k, which amounts to 100k and is covering the suggested overspend of 99k.
Thank you, Mr Thorpe. Councillor May.
Colin, as I promised, as soon as I finalise the figures with the officers, which hopefully will be middle of next week, I'll meet with you and I'll go through it line by line, as I've said, all along.
Thank you, Councillor May. Mr Thorpe, you have a second question.
Yes,
your question is to Councillor Gunn, but since he sent his apologies, I believe Councillor Swords will be answering on Councillor Gunn's behalf. Do you wish to read the question, Mr Thorpe, or do you wish to take it as read?
No, I think we can take that as read.
Okay, we'll take the question and the answer as read then. Do you have a supplementary
Yes,
question?
I do.
Please proceed.
The reason why I addressed the question to the 33 councillors of Harlow Council was I wasn't sure that they actually knew that what the Potter Street Health and Wellbeing Hub is proposing is for the entire Harlow and not just Potter Street, and therefore if ever this council was to have a vote on it, they would need to know what it was all about. So my question is, how many of those councillors actually read the question that I sent to them and the business plan which I sent to them with that, and do they understand what the Potter Street Health and Wellbeing Hub is trying to do for the disadvantaged groups of this town?
Thank you, Mr Thorpe. Councillor Swords will reply on behalf of Councillor Gunn.
I thank Ms Thorpe for his supplementary question, and I recognise the point that he's making. He mentioned about the council having a vote on the matter. The allocated budget was voted through the usual cabinet process, I believe by the previous administration, and the capital programme has since been updated as ongoing. I noted in your initial question you said that you would only receive 4 responses to from the 33 councillors, so I do find it interesting that there's a lot of opposition councillors nodding that they clearly didn't respond to your email. However, I think the answer that you took as read set out very clearly that councillors are accountable to those who elect them, unless, as the response said, they are a portfolio holder or hold other such rank and therefore have a course-wide responsibility. But there also is a realism that councillors receive hundreds of emails from lots of people, and they would be doing a disservice to